Hello. Hi everyone. Thank you for tuning to my channel. My name is Estela and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Haslam system. It's called basically the Haslam system of dress cutting, which is this. So I'm in a group, the group in Facebook. I'm in a group. I'm just gonna go and move straight forward because there's so much information about this system. And before I even talk about the system, maybe I should talk a little bit about me. I'm actually a seamstress slash designer slash sewist slash crafter and everything else about it. Okay. For the longest time, I've been using sewing patterns to do my work. I've also done some self-drafting as well. I didn't go to school for the drafting part. I did go to school for a few semesters as far as trying to get a degree in fashion design. I was probably a little too old for it, or maybe I think it's the fact that my desires weren't where I thought I wanted them to be. So being in school was great, but I wasn't really achieving what I thought I needed to achieve, but that's a different topic anyway. But today I want to focus on talking to you about the Haslam system of dress cutting. This system was created in the 1940s while it was wartime. I've been following the group and I've been in the group. The group in Facebook is called Haslam Sewing Support Group. So if you're interested, you guys can go ahead and subscribe to it, and you do have to get approved by Mrs.Depew Vintage, who's the creator to this group, who also sells the system as well with the pattern books that you're supposed to get for this. But anyway, I will focus on that as well. So I have been searching and researching and reading and haven't done the work yet, but I'm really excited about getting this going. I have watched only one video about this system. I forgot the name of the YouTuber who just started about 2 or 3 weeks ago on this, who I'm also planning on following. I will actually put the information down on the box for you guys to follow. All the information about the Facebook group, everything else that would come in here, I'm also gonna make sure to put it down below so you guys can get it if you miss it. But I'm still gonna use my flashcards to give you that information as well. So I am a big vintage collector, she'll say, but maybe not big, but I admire it. And for some reason that era in the 1940s just pulls me in. 30s, mainly 40s, I've noticed when I began searching about vintage fashion. Actually, I thought that I was into the 50s, then I realized that I do like the 50s because it's very girly, you know. But I kept going into more depth as far as the decades, the fashion in the decades, and I realize now that I do like the 40s and the 30s, the 20s as well, but not as much. But I haven't really created anything or recreated, shall say, or made anything in that era. But this is why I came across this group, so that I can actually inform myself well before I started working on it. And since there's not enough information about this system actually, and let's say there is a lot of information, but not information as far as how to really work with the system, or maybe there's a lot of sewers that do use the system but haven't really recorded the process on video, then I guess I'll be the guinea pig for it. So bear with me. I will be posting every step of the way. Today I'm just blogging about it, giving you the heads up and the information you may need to know that I already researched. I still encourage you to actually try and, you know, and subscribe to this group, because these ladies on this group, which is again the Haslam sewing support group, will give you information and will help you as far as if something goes wrong, or if you have any questions about the sewing process, the cutting process, the using the tools, you know, all that information. You can actually really get it from these ladies. They're super great. They give you all the information you need. Not to mention Mrs.Depew. She is also a big influence in this group, because she's the one that obviously came up with it, and she's also knowledgeable about it, I believe. Okay, so moving on, what do I need to get me going, or to get me started to get to work with the system? There's 3 things you're gonna need, and that would be the foundation drafting and instructions book, which is just this. I will also give you information where you can actually purchase it, or maybe even get it for free. I got mine when I started researching on this. I came across the free foundation along with the chart or the ruler, which is this right here. Okay, and it's a 2-piece, which I'm gonna show you. I downloaded it. It was a 3-piece. It's a 6-piece basically. You do 3-piece for the front part and 3-piece for the back part. And then on here it actually shows you, this would be my front. I don't know if you can see it well. And then this one right here would be my back. And basically what I did, I just printed 3 pieces, or let's say I printed the ruler. It comes in 6 pages, and then you then proceed into putting them together, taping it down. I didn't like that just the paper alone was just too flimsy, so I went to Dollar Tree and bought the cardboard for, you know, the project for schools, and not the foam type, but the other one, the one that's like 2 for $1, I believe, at Dollar Tree. And I went ahead and glued it all onto it, and it took me a whole day to work on this. I used an owl, or let's say a sharp tool, to pierce through the holes on here so that I could actually use it, because those dots on it will actually work a big part as far as using these rulers. But trust me, I am trusting that this will work great. But this is part of it. You're gonna need this. The foundation part would be the instructions as far as making your block. You first need to make your first basic block, and it comes with the instructions for drafting foundation patterns for ladies and children, dresses, and 2-piece coat sleeve. And then on the first page of that, it gives you the instructions as far as your measurements, how you need to follow them, how to, you know, record them for you to be able to use them with the ruler to be able to draw that basic piece or basic pattern, which would be your foundation to then create your garment, if you guys get me. The third piece would be, and you know, I'm gonna be recording myself and using the instructions with the ruler when I start doing my base basically. You will need, in order for you to make whatever piece of garment that you desire, will come from the book of patterns, okay, which would be this would be the drafting books. The book will give you pictures of the fashion, you know, of the pieces of the fashion that you're actually wanting to do, and then they're numbered. Each dress is numbered, and so the numbers will be on the pages next to the drafting drawing, as for you to be able to use that and follow through. Now, you know, one thing that you need to know and understand is that this system is not for someone who has never ever sewn, but mainly not the sewing part, but the pattern drafting. So if you've never done that, then I suggest you start practicing. Okay, with that said, okay, and before I even continue, let's not forget you're gonna need 3 things to do your sewing, and it's your instructions to your foundation, your chart, which would be the rulers, and your book of patterns for and drafting, okay, or your book of drafting patterns, which will show you a number of different fashion designs. You need those to be able to get you going. Before I even jump into what other tools you would use, I'm gonna tell you where you can find these instructions, books, and the system basically. If you want to save yourself the headache and money, I suggest you Google Mrs.Depew, or Depew, I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly, vintage, that Haslam, that, and Google it, and you will actually come up from her page. These are ebooks, okay, everybody, ebooks or PDFs, which means you would have to purchase it. It's then downloaded. Once you download it, I mean, once your payment goes through, then you get to download the actual books, sorry, and then you proceed by printing those up on your computer printer, and then you get to save them. She sells them at $10 per ebook or per PDF. I've actually gone through Etsy, and on Etsy.com. She's also on that page. However, the prices on her page, on her actual page, is less it costs you less, only because if you buy just one is $10. If you decided to buy 3 books, then she gives you $5 discount. So you're purchasing 3 books of your liking for $25. So if you were to buy the system to get you going, then you'll be purchasing it from her at a lower cost, from, you know, that I've seen from others on Etsy. Okay, and you would have it at your hands like pretty quickly because this is done fast. You can, I mean, if you don't want to do it through her page, then go ahead and go through Etsy.com, and then at that point you either look it up on Etsy by entering Mrs.Depew or Depew Vintage, or just look for the Haslam cutting system and it'll come up for you. I believe there's only 1 book that I've seen there, and 1 or a couple books, and one of the books is called let's see, one of the books on Etsy, I'm looking for my notes, it's called the Haslam Practical Guide to Dressmaking and Tailoring Vintage Sewing. Again, that's a hardcover, and I believe it's right now they have I'm sorry, it's not a hardcover, it's a PDF. I don't remember who the seller is, but on Etsy it will cost you over $24. If you get it from Mrs.Depew on her page, it's just $10. So I'm just letting you know by giving you this information where you can find it at your fingertips for a lot less money, and US dollars is what I mean. Okay, all right, so I gave you that information. I have purchased 1 more before I forget. Needle Crafts also has a couple of those books for a very inexpensive price if you want to go ahead and look into that as well. But again, if you want to save yourself the timing of having to go through all this information and having to do the research that it took me about a year to finally get all this together and really understand it. So I'm just trying to get this so that you guys can understand it at a fastest speed. All right. So with that said, now I'm going to move forward. So like I said, the system was created in the 1940s, and since I already told you the three things you're gonna need, again, I'm gonna mention it again because this is something that I know it's gonna be asked over and over. You're gonna need the foundation drafting with instructions. You're gonna need your rulers, and you're gonna need a book of drafting the patterns, which would be all a group of fashion that will include the information and the measurements for you to draft your own pattern. Okay, so those would be the two. If you need help as far as tips for sewing, again, you guys can actually go ahead and look it up. It's the Haslam Practical Guide to Dressmaking and Tailoring Vintage Sewing. Again, you can find that PDF either on Etsy by a different seller, or you could go ahead and get it from Mrs.Depew Vintage on her page or on Etsy. On her page is $10. I don't know on Etsy how much she has it for, but again, if you buy these three pieces, if she has a sale that you would actually pay $10 per item minus $5 off if you bought three. So basically you're looking at $25 or so. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing, what I have, what I purchased, and what I can give you as far as those that don't understand the drafting system, or have never drafted anything in your life, but you've been sewing a lot and you've been using your own sewing patterns. Well, if you've been using a lot of sewing patterns that you buy from the store, then you basically have an idea of, you know, pattern pieces, how to put them together. So I bought this book. It's called The Pattern Making for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. It's a textbook. It's a second edition. I bought it, let's say, it's me again. Okay, so my video got cut off in the middle of everything, but I'll probably be talking about a few things. Okay, so I was talking to you about the textbook that I have. I bought it on Amazon. It is a used textbook. It is used. I use it for pattern drafting, which is a great book. It is the second edition. It is by Helen Joseph Armstrong. I'm sorry about the lighting. I'm in front of my window, and this being my third video ever with this camera, I'm still not bonded with this camera yet. Okay, so this book has everything you need as far as to get you started from the beginning to the end, as far as learning how to draft your own patterns. This book is so self-explanatory. You don't really need a teacher to actually walk you through it. However, some of the text vocabulary can be a little overwhelming as far as the meaning of them, but if you look them up on Google, it'll explain it to you. Or if you ask someone in a sewing group, they'll probably tell you information about a word or a meaning of something that you're trying to understand. But this book it's a great book. There has been more new additions that have been added to this book. Basically, in every edition that this book has been published, is just adding on new techniques as far as drafting patterns for, let's say, the upcoming years, or for the present being. In my case, I don't need anything fancy, but this book is so extended. I mean, it will talk to you about how to do everything you need to know as far as drafting. And I will go into details. If this is something you would need me to do, I can make another video about this book alone, okay? But this is my base book. This is my book. This book is what helped me get through learning how to draft patterns. And I'm not I don't have a lot of experience, but as far as drafting patterns in a big volume, but I know enough to get me going. I have been sewing since I started when I was 12, maybe even younger, but really into the pattern situation, I started at 12. I didn't like how it turned out. Of course, I was an 8th grader. The teacher taught me a little bit about it, and then I just, did the rest on my own. And then I stopped for a while, and it wasn't until I was a mother of 2 that I started sewing for the obvious reasons, right? Economics. Okay, so my other 2 books that I will introduce you to I have them about a year ago, and I've been reading and I've been researching information as far as the guidance that I need to sew and understand the gimmicks as far as the fashion that went on the 40s. This book is called A Complete Book of Sewing, and is by Talbot. I don't know how to pronounce it. This book is from 1943, I believe. Let's see, is this the one? Yeah, this was from 1943. Again, this one book is one of the editions. I believe there's more editions to this, but it is, and I love this book. It just gives you so much information. It tells you about your figure, it talks about back then how women would dress, how you should be choosing, your shape as far as your fashion, and as far as colors, as far as V-neck, and oh my god, it's just so overwhelming. But I've been reading it a lot, and it helps me understand better as far as, what to look for. And then it also has information as far as sewing, garments, mending, hand stitching. Back in the 40s, that's something that was very, that was used a lot, which was the hand stitching. So the workmanship back then was really, really nice. And it was because women, since they were kids, moms would teach their daughters, pass it down, and so on and so forth. And that's why sewing back then, it was part of like your knowledge. Women would have to know how to sew, and mainly mending. So hand stitching was a big part of your life if you were from the 40s. Aside from the fact that in wartime, things didn't come as easy, and the economic situation for people weren't that big either. So you got to mend a lot of your clothing and to restyle stuff, but you get me, you understand me. So this book would be really helpful for your sewing as far as using the Haslam system, because of the fact that it's that type of era that I'm going to be basing myself off. Then I also found another book. It's called the New Encyclopedia of Modern Sewing. Now this one is also from the 40s. It is, I believe this is the 4th edition of this book, and it was created in 1949 by Frances Blondin or Blondin, and this is what the book looks like actually right here. And as you might know by now, if you look them up on Etsy or you Google these books, I don't have the actual cover for them. There should be another cover that comes on top of the hardcover. I don't have them. I purchased them like this. I got lucky and I got them each for $5 on Facebook Market. And because I came across from them and I thought $5 was really inexpensive for such old books, and they're in such great state, that I had to get them. And then thinking in the thing that I wanted to start sewing for the fashion of the 40s, and same thing, this book has so much information, guys. It's incredible how much information this has. And this one has a lot of sewing tips with the sewing machine. The other one does also, but this one, both of them, in, you know, as a mix, are perfect for the sewing. So if that's something, you know, you're looking to do. However, you can still use books from this time. I just find that the sewing back then was more basic and less complicated, I think. But then again, this is someone who's been sewing for a long time, so I find sewing from that era to be a lot less difficult than it is today. I have patterns that, you know, sewing patterns that I bought from, you know, the 40s and 50s, compared it to the reproduction of today, and let me tell you that I prefer the older patterns just because even their instructions are so, you know, they're so self-explained. And they're so straightforward that you don't really have to be talking really high sewing technical vocabulary. Is just straightforward. But anyway, that's all the information I have. Let me not forget to let you know you will need a measuring tape as well to measure yourself. You will need someone to measure your back, because that's the one part that I had to get help on measuring my back. So with that said, I think I covered pretty much everything I needed to talk to you about. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave them down below. I hope you liked this video. My name is Estela. I'm very happy to be doing these videos for you. Please help me by subscribing and clicking, giving it thumbs up, and, you know, just do the bell as well, so this way all the videos that come up will actually be on, you know, will notify you on time. If you have any other questions from other than the Haslam book, then in regards to the books that I just showed you, then go ahead and do that. And before I forget, I do have one suggestion as far as your books, but I have a binder that I made, and that's where I'm actually going to be keeping all of my Haslam books. So one thing to do is to keep them in order. This way it would be an easy thing to do, and then if you use the tabs, you can put the number of the book that you have on file. And, you know, so far that's all I can cover. I will be doing another video where I'm going to be recording all the steps as far as doing the base, for then make another video to do my first garment. So see you soon. Bye bye. Thanks again. Have a great one. See you. Bye bye.